Since the start of recorded history, psychic abilities have been documented, exposing the supernatural gift that some possess to look beyond the physical world and reach into the spiritual one. Throughout the past, our mental abilities have been a topic of mystery, often being attributed to certain individuals' ability to control matter simply by thought, giving birth to numerous supernatural theories related to alchemy and prophecies, communicating with non-physical entities, traveling outside of one's physical body, supernatural healing, supernatural levels of strength, hypnosis, telekinesis, and much more. We know for sure that the mind is capable of extraordinary things, but yet we've been surprised again and again by it. Perhaps the unknown capabilities of the human brain are yet to be found, feats of unnatural mental abilities becoming common practice in the future. In this video, we'll discuss a small fraction of the known psychic abilities we as humans all possess and simply need to develop in order to use them. Let's start. Levitation. Levitation is the ability of raising your own body against the force of gravity in such a way that it remains suspended without any physical contact. Although there are many skeptics on the possibility of levitating using the power of your mind, surprisingly, our history is filled with accounts of such individuals who achieved this ability and even practiced it in front of hundreds of witnesses. One such account is from the famous levitator, Saint Joseph of Cupertino, who was cited to levitate on many occasions by hundreds of people, including the Pope. The Church even canonized Saint Joseph, and we know that the Church canonization process involves in-depth investigations, and thus many written records, including 150 eyewitness testimonies, providing detailed information about Cupertino's levitations are present. The character of the witnesses was one of the highest order: cardinals, a pope, and the inquisitors themselves. The Church at the time didn't have a motive to falsely boost a performer of miracles. Cupertino faced as much distrust as welcome from the Church over the decades. He was even under a kind of house arrest in Rome at the same time as Galileo Galilei, albeit for very different reasons. One was a mystic, the other a driving force of modern science. Both were viewed with mistrust. There are many more cases of levitation in history and even in the present, high in the Himalayan mountains by devoted Buddhist monks. Almost every religion and spiritual teaching has a history of paranormal levitations, and its belief that when one progresses on the path of spiritualism, levitation as well as other psychic abilities comes naturally. Telekinesis. Telekinesis is an ability to move inanimate objects at will, using only the power of the mind. Among the psychophysical phenomena, clairvoyance, telepathy, and others, the phenomenon of telekinesis is one of the most intriguing. Some researchers claim that the effect of telekinesis is real, and it has to do with formation of powerful physical fields. Telekinesis generates a strong electromagnetic field and acoustic signals with a duration of 0.1 to 0.01 seconds. Other researchers think that it may occur due to a mental effort known as psychokinesis. The difficulty of studying the phenomenon of telekinesis is attributable primarily to the fact that it is extremely rare. In recent years, after a number of experiments on telekinesis, Dr. Robert G. John, the head of the Laboratory of Abnormal Studies at Princeton University, managed to prove that the human, by his psyche, can affect material objects. It was verified after thousands of experiments which involved hundreds of men and women of all ages and professions. Subjects had to move a pendulum placed under a transparent plastic cap. 5 subjects were able to do it at any time and distance, the others only in a few cases. Scientists have found out that the power of mind can affect a variety of devices and liquid media, such as highly precise chronometers, lasers, electrical generators of electromagnetic radiation, emulsions, colloids, water, etc. Some researchers claim that each of us is endowed with these paranormal abilities that once were completely natural and were widely used by people, but now they are in a latent state. Future experiments may help to reveal the nature of telekinesis. Till now, we can only ascertain the existence of a special psychoenergy that provokes telekinesis. Astral projection. Often depicted in fiction, as in Hollywood movies like Insidious or Doctor Strange, astral projection is our ability to separate our consciousness from our body and experience our surroundings that are not exposed to any of our five senses. While we have an entire video about the evidence and experiments of astral projection, here is one such experiment which really stands out. Harold Sherman is a well-known psychic, and his astral goal was to check out Mercury. Mariner 10, a robotic space probe, was scheduled to approach Mercury in a week or so, in 1974. Mr. Sherman astral projected to Mercury and advised that the planet had an atmosphere, although it was very thin. This was scoffed at by all the scientists and astronomers involved with the Mariner 10 project. However, when the Mariner 10 data was transferred, it was found that indeed Mercury did have an atmosphere. Mr. Sherman was right. So, it can be safely said that astral projection has a very high potential of being in the realm of possibilities, and that Harold Sherman might in fact be an astral projector who proved so, and his results verified by a scientific expedition. Pyrokinesis. Pyrokinesis is the psychic ability which allows a person to create and control fire using only the power of the mind. It is the skill set of being able to manipulate flames and in some cases even create it. Most of the people who claim to possess the power of pyrokinesis have the ability only to extinguish or manipulate fire, but very few claim creating the fire. Although many people believe pyrokinesis is impossible, there are a lot of events of pyrokinesis which took place in various places of the world. In 2011, a 3-year-old Filipino girl drove the media crazy when it was claimed that she had the ability to predict fire. Many things like clothes, sleeping mats, and pillows caught fire immediately after predicted by her that they would burn. Many policemen and fire authorities claimed to have witnessed fire caused by the girl without her touching the objects. One more event that was similar to this took place in Vietnam. An 11-year-old girl had puzzled many scientists with her supernatural ability. According to her father, fire appears wherever she goes. In her home, the electricity got short-circuited and many sockets were burnt. Sometimes even her clothes would catch fire. Neural manipulation. Energy beams. Electricity is produced by the motion of free electrons. Free electrons are present in any metal, but don't conduct electricity unless they are given a certain direction by a potential difference. It's almost the same deal with the neurons in the brain. If a neuron could be excited by some processing, then because of its electrical energy, it would work like a dynamo. The billions of neurons would collectively be equivalent to billions of dynamos. Just imagine then what a gigantic amount of power, heat, light, electricity, could be generated from the human brain. Understanding of the electrical activities of the neural network and related findings of modern sciences appears superficial when compared with descriptions of the internal power of the brain as cited in the ancient scriptures. At least 20 watts of electricity flows continuously in the human brain throughout one's life. It might be possible to harness actual physical energy simply by using the brain, and the superhero powers we see in movies and shows might actually be in the realm of possibilities. Supernatural strength and control. Dr. George Delgado had conducted several experiments to demonstrate that the sensual feelings like hunger, thirst, concupiscence, etc. could be controlled by controlling the governing centers of our brain. Controlling its neural activities could also help control the mental tendencies of a living being. In a demonstration, he gave a banana to a monkey named Ali. When Ali was eating this fruit of its liking, Dr. Delgado recorded its EEG and accordingly sent specific electrical signals to this subject's brain. These signals were tuned to order the monkey to throw off the thing in its hand. The viewers were surprised to watch that suddenly Ali stopped eating and threw away the banana despite his hunger and liking. The revered saintly expert of Indian classical music, Swami Haridas, had once gone into trance to demonstrate the power of Indian yoga to a British general named Sir Ventura, on the request of the Sikh king Ranjita Singh. In 2 such experiments, the Swami was buried in a muddy pit, once for 10 days and another time for 40 days. In both of the experiments, he was found perfectly healthy when he came out. However, the central top portion where the Hindus grow the hair knot, Sika, of his head, had become hot like fire. The portion of the brain beneath this spot of the head is very important in yoga sadhana. Mind-to-mind communication, telepathy, and hypnosis. In another demonstration, a bit adventurous and risky to perform, 2 bulls were brought in, surrounded by thousands of viewers, which included some experts who had come to examine Dr. Delgado's experiment. The bulls had electrodes fit in their heads. The public triggered them to have a head-on collision. The fighting animals appeared so dreadful, as if they would crush each other. Just then, Dr. Delgado sent a mental signal conveying the message that peace is better than violence to both of the animals. He focused very hard and was able to telepathically penetrate the minds of the 2 animals. These signals had electrified the nerves of the bulls so as to stimulate the secretion of certain hormones and suppress those of the violent ones. Within no time, the bulls were seen standing calmly near each other like domestic goats. Although their hissing continued, there was no excitation in them. Dr. Delgado had also successfully used this method of controlling the specific nerve functions through electrical charges for the treatment of many patients. The experiments described confirms that it is not only possible to plant an idea in someone's mind. In fact, MIT has recently developed a device called Alter Ego that listens not to a person's speech, but to their thoughts. So perhaps one day, when we collectively develop our consciousness to a much higher state, we would just think ideas to each other and be able to communicate telepathically. Channeling and mediumship. Cases of channeling and mediumship, and even a person's body being taken over by a spirit for the purpose of communication, has been around for millennia. There are countless stories of shamans, occult practitioners, prophets, and others who claim to hear voices or receive some supernatural knowledge from the spirit world. Channelers, also sometimes known as psychic mediums, often use what are called spirit guides, friendly spirits who give them knowledge and help them on their spiritual journeys. According to Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer, authors of Opening to Channel, How to Connect with Your Guide, channeling is a powerful means of spiritual unfoldment and conscious transformation. As you channel, you build a bridge to the higher realms, a loving, caring, purposeful, collective higher consciousness that has been called God, the all that is, or the universal mind. Channeling involves consciously shifting your mind and mental space in order to achieve an expanded state of consciousness. To achieve this expanded state of consciousness, channelers usually meditate, trying to break free of worldly influences and tune into a higher consciousness. They may imagine themselves seeking out specific spirits of the dead, or they may be contacted, apparently unbidden, by some unknown force that wishes to communicate. Channeling is similar to playing piano. Almost anyone who applies himself can probably learn how to do it, at least a little, and even a casual study of it can be enriching. However, learning to do it well requires a lot of energy and commitment, and obviously it comes more easily to some people than to others. It is believed that furthering our skills in this lifetime, whatever they are, can lead to being born with more talent in those areas in future lifetimes. We plan each lifetime before it begins. If we desire to channel during that lifetime, we usually make agreements to do so with a particular source or sources that we wish to channel, and plan the timing and the form of the channeling we will do so that it supports our life task. This applies to absolutely every psychic ability. There are so many more psychic abilities, and the ones I've shared with you are just a small fraction. Psychic abilities are a gift, but they can also be practiced, learned, and mastered by absolutely everyone. While psychic development is something accessible to everyone, understanding the phenomena from a technical perspective and dedicating a few hours per month to work on practical exercises can make a world of difference. Perceiving the non-physical reality around can broaden your perspective in many aspects of life, as well as help with your development as a consciousness. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and if you're new, hit subscribe and the bell next to it for future notifications.